Yeah, I feel like it's a real marketing opportunity not having any kissing during my presentation, so I apologize. Next year. Yeah.
Were you at your partner intended to log more queues, or were you just okay? I was wondering about that.
Did they make any
I'm
sense?
tired. Yeah.
This is weird, actually, connected to
Right? It's another whole other dimension to account.
For Phil, how do you know when you're finished?
Well, we're finished now, pretty much. The game was certified content complete about a month and a half ago. That's a Microsoft milestone. That means that the whole entire game is there, playable from start to finish, every single item, every single secret, all in. That was just like a hard deadline that we set ourselves in between the PAX Season, PAX Prime. Right now we're just debugging. But in terms of how I knew that it was a complete game, we just had this number of collectibles that we knew we wanted. There are 64 cubes to find in the game, and I just made sure that there were 64 cubes in the game. And it's funny, for the longest time we had all these different levels and areas that kind of weren't connected together. They were, there wasn't a whole cohesive whole to explore. And for some reason, we really weren't keeping track of how many levels and how many things were in the game. So when we got to the point where we had all the parts of the world and we put them together, we just started counting how many levels and how many cubes we had. And I actually had to remove levels and remove cubes to kind of make it balance out. It was just kind of a big spreadsheet at the end that I knew that all the necessary content was in there. But on a more artistic level, it took 5 years. We thought it was going to take 1 year. Eventually we realized oh no, we've got a solid at least 3 more years or so of this. And you just have to stick to your original vision and kind of picture what it is going to be when it's done as a whole. You just know it. When you reach a point eventually, and it's kind of a really wonderful, magical moment where for the first time you look at this game, and it's a whole game, you can beat it. You can walk from the beginning to the end and see the credits. It was kind of amazing.
I was sort of hoping to get the Jackson Pollock answer. That apocryphal story. Someone asked him, how do you know when you're done making a painting? He said, well, how do you know when you're done making love? Which is kind of stupid, but yeah. But that's it. I was going to use that as the answer next time.
That's Jackson Pollock.
I went too far there. You were having fun.
So this question's for the two developers. You talked a lot about why you felt like you needed to make this game and what your reasons for making it were and things that interest you about it. In the spirit of well played, what do you think the experience you were going for a person who's playing your game well is?
Whichever order is cool.
Well, your love, the more you love your partner. And yeah, it's a little bit interesting because when I showed this work, this game to festival, and the couple participant made their score is actually their kiss score and or love score. So they tried to have a higher score so that was actually really interesting for us because it doesn't exactly the same actually. So even you have a high score, it doesn't really mean you kiss really well. It was interesting. So a well-played game, I think maybe I want to say you can express how much you love your partner with this game.
For Fez, it's not really a game that you get good at or better at, or there's no real metric of performance. The only real metric is kind of your how far you're into the game by how many cubes you collected. But the intention was always to create this huge world that would absorb people and let them kind of get lost in it and be kind of really pleasant and relaxing. So playing Fez well would be putting yourself in that mind state where you're relaxed and you're receptive and you want to just kind of spend time in a pleasant place. Some of the playtests we've been doing, some people do it kind of speed run type style. You know, they just get to the top of the village as fast as they can, and I think that's kind of missing the point. I think that would be playing it bad. But yeah, playing it well is just kind of wanting to get lost in a magic world.
And I just want to add one more. I was actually thinking why all the people ask me to purchase it, and then some of them told me because they don't really kiss anymore after like 30 years in Paris. It depends on couple, and some psychologists maybe suggest me you can use it for marriage counseling. So, well, for me, like that my kiss game is not just a game. It could be like some way to impact people or something like that.
That kiss controller seems like, have you tried using it just with one person, one hit on your tongue? And then what about using it for like paraplegics or something like that? Or quadriplegics?
Yeah, it works. But I didn't want to make that way because I just want to use like emotion. So okay, we have a Wii, we have Kinect, we use our body movement to play game. But why not using our emotion, like affection and love? And then I think it's if one person plays this controller, it's so sad. Sorry.
No, I
know.
Forever alone.
No, it's a great technology for,
But you can make like
disabled people.
you can make a kiss training program. People who've never kissed.
How to play kiss well. Will be a tongue twister.
No, I've practiced a lot. I
And
have the score and everything.
And I believe there are some research groups actually working for disabled.
So one thing I noticed about the game, which I didn't expect, is that it's actually incredibly one-sided, both in terms of the headgear and in terms of some of the controllers. It's less about collaborative kissing and more about, okay, you stand there with your mouth open, I'm going to shove my tongue down your throat and steer.
I don't feel like it's a problem.
Interesting interpretation of kissing that I don't personally share, but hey, teach their own. I'm just curious how much that was sort of intentionally designed versus the sort of constraints of technology.
Could you just say
Oh, sure. I'm just curious how much of that, the asymmetry of the design was intentional, or how much of it was a constraint of the technology that you had.
Oh, okay. Well, our problem was everyone is different. Everyone mouse shape different, tongue shape similar, but head size all different. So we cannot do calibration for everyone. We cannot do it. So okay, we just think normal person, like a normal average size of head, and we think okay, like symmetric is better, and the left and right. We actually can make up, down, left, right, like 45 angle if we do really good calibration, but we don't have the time for each person. So we think, okay, just left and right, and that's actually for good, head.
But what about, because he was asking more about like, it's not really two players collaborating together.
Yeah.
It's
So
sort
it's
of
just
one
one person,
person's
yeah.
controlling.
That's
Was
the
that
reason-
intentional, or is that just where your
Oh,
tech is today?
Well, that was that's the reason we try to think on this. The one person can control tongue and kiss, the other person can control like body So now we make two monitors and facing each other. Then the first two version we made in February, polling game was just one monitor, only one play. Then they switch rule. So each time, only one player can play, but they actually switch. So then they want to see both of them and they want to control both of them. So we actually developing right now another sensor that is the body. Because kiss and hug and touching is all about intimate and sensory for us. We're still keep working on it.
Yeah, along those lines, if you thought about making like a competitive game where the person wearing the magnet is trying to do one thing and the person wearing the headset is trying to do another, and they're like whistling with each other's tongues or something.
Competitive.
Jousting.
That's interesting because I just finished my last test 2 days ago, and the couple gave me feedback. They told me it's not just loving each other, we feel like against competing each other. So it was interesting, and they suggested like a fighting game. So it was interesting because
this is one for Phil. So, given Fez's sort of emphasis on exploration in rewards, do you have any thoughts from your perspective about like more linear games where design is so structured as to make sure the player misses nothing?
Well, that's really kind of a more current school of thought for like bigger budget games with bigger production values, because I think it's you end up spending so much time, money, and man hours making a beautiful palace or something. You don't want that palace to be optional. I don't know, it's just kind of where we're at today. Like there are more directed experiences, and I want it to go completely the other way around.
It's like a regression. Not even a regression.
I don't think it's a regression. It's just a different. Fez has a very, very simple gameplay. You jump and you rotate, and that's it. And it's really all about this character of the world that you're exploring. And our feedback loop for Fez is exploration and discovery. You spend time looking around and figuring things out, and your reward is finding a new place that maybe feels like you're not really supposed to be there, or like you figured something out earlier than you should have, or you might talk about it with your friends and they never got there, they never found that room, and it's going to feel like special to you. And that's the reward, is that feeling that you've discovered something. And I think that's really hard to do when you're just like being grabbed by your hand and going down a corridor.
I mean, I feel like coming at it from an editorial angle, I mean, I'd be interested to know what your expectations would be for when people write about the game. Because on the flip side, like when you play Modern Warfare, everyone has roughly the same experience playing like campaign, for example. And it seems like with Fez, you also open the door for people to have radically different experiences. I'd be curious to know when you're looking for the reviews down the road, how much, because you left the door so open for people.
I don't think about reviews. That's like a terrifying thought. It's like, yeah, we wanted to make a game where people would each have different experiences. Hopefully that experience is going to feel like it's more personal to you, like it's something that happened to you personally, not just a roller coaster ride. But I mean, it's kind of a weird game. There's no enemies, there's no like pressure or combat or conflict or anything like negative like that. Except the universe falling apart. But it's going to be somewhat divisive that way. I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of battlefield produce as people are going to go in there. It's like, fuck, just walk around this game. It's stupid. And fine, you can't make everybody happy.
But you said earlier that you said that people who did speed runs, you felt like that was not the right way to play the game. So it seems like you have some opinions about the appropriate way, at some level, that people should be using Fez.
If that's how you're having your fun, good. It's just like that kind of wasn't our intention. We weren't making a game about speed running. Even in the leaderboard, we don't support. It doesn't tell you how long you took to beat the game. People are going to have to time themselves if they want to do speed running.
There's a leaderboard?
Yeah, you have to have a leaderboard if you're doing an SPLA game. It's mandatory. So we have just the one lane percentage completion leaderboard. So we have to.
Time for one more.
Thank you.
So Phil, you guys have all these different spaces, and it seems to me like the whole design process is really difficult. You're trying to move a pace, you're changing it from at least one other perspective. So what was your process like? Did
was working on Fez, I realized at one point that I wasn't dreaming anymore. I never remembered my dreams. And I had no idea what was happening during my sleep. But sometimes I would wake up and this fully formed idea, not just an idea, like a specific structure, like a level design would just appear in my head, out of nowhere, ready to go. I would show up to work, I would build it, and lo and behold, it would work. It would be like a good level. Because usually a level was like trial and error. You have to consider every direction, and you move one thing on one side, and it breaks the sequence on the other. And I was just like completely flabbergasted. Where the fuck did these ideas come from? And then I started developing this theory that all I was doing in my sleep was iterating on level design. It was just like constantly just moving things around until the idea was ready, and then my subconscious would be like, hey, here's something ready for you, use it. And what kind of confirms that theory is that now that we've hit content complete and I'm not making level design again, I'm dreaming again. It's like complete fucking shit that has nothing to do with level design. So yeah, like magic, it just happened.
I love that you outsourced your data.
It just happened.
All right, thanks to the panelists. Thanks.